extra time, that training before the meeting. So there might be some like movement here with other people coming in and stuff like that.
Oh, no, I will, I like hard starts and hard stops, so
Okay.
we'll do a hard stop.
At 7.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds good.
Awesome.
So,
That's fine.
we're recording.
Okay.
LaKeitha is my coworker, is PJ and my coworker. She is the prevention specialist as well as the housing advocate network manager. So she has 2 different roles. The role that we asked her to come and talk about today was prevention,
Yes.
to do an overview on prevention, and then also for us to like ask any questions that we have. So I'm just gonna turn to read.
All right, precisely as Rebecca stated, I'm the prevention specialist with the Housing Advocate Network in collaboration with the YWCA. And so what I would like to do is open up with 2 stories, and this will be in context. So the first, we'll say the name is Lauren. Lauren was a single mom that came into our services. At the time, she was pregnant and had a toddler as well. She was exiting a DV situation and was staying with her friend who had a precarious occupation, we'll say. And so I started working with Lauren regarding next steps, placements, what funding could look like, and this type of thing. A point came where I met with her and there were some concerning things. There were men in and out of the house. There was some drug use, not by her, but by the friend. And the point came where I said, I may have to make a call to CPS. Mind you, she's also 9 months pregnant and working a fairly minimum wage position. So she gives me this information. Incidentally, we do have some amount of funding available, and blessedly, I have a lot of connections in this town, few phone calls, plus a check. We were able to get a landlord to agree to take her in, as in immediately, as in, I think it was a 2-day turnaround. Advocacy and case management occurred with her church, who agreed to pay half the rent as long as the prevention program would pay the double deposit. And so we moved forward in collaboration with River of Life. A week later, furniture set for her rooms and her kids were provided. So she had, through this program, housing stability, but it didn't end there. Due to the stability that was now in her home, she got promoted. And I just spoke with her not too long ago. The half that the church is paying for the case management advice I gave her is going into a bank account to be revisited in a year. So we might be looking at something like buying a manufactured home or something like that. And all of that was due to the work done, not by necessarily myself in the prevention program, but a community of people that responded well to the premise of the program and the advocacy on her behalf as well. So that's Lauren. Second person, we'll call her Carlene. And she was married, and so they had three sons. She was working part-time because the husband had it. For whatever reason, he left. In his wake, the rent actually had not been paid for quite some time. And how she entered our services was, I only make X amount a month. I don't know what to do. I now have a 30-day notice to vacate the premises. And I have the chaos of having 3 sons who are now fatherless, and myself who now doesn't have a husband. Fast forward, we did some case management, further advocacy with this particular property manager. They agreed to a 6-month payment plan. She didn't have the money. Through the funding of this program, we were able to pay the first program, which allowed her to gain sufficient employment and get on the road toward keeping her housing. I spoke to her about 2 months ago, and payment plan is going well. She's gainfully employed and the boys are doing well. Again, this is housing stability, which is a ripple effect. We often hear about zero housing, which means no, the eradication of homelessness completely. A more realistic approach I find is housing first. If you have housing stability, you're able to then concentrate. Others can see it, maybe offer you a promotion because you're not all over the place. And so these are the things that have occurred through this program. So again, I'm the manager for the prevention program. What is the prevention program? And I'm going to read a little bit just so I make sure I'm not missing anything. But essentially it is intensive case management. The program provides limited funding. At its inception, when we first meet, or I guess when I first meet with a family, we're talking housing goals, we're building a relationship. What do you want? Not everybody wants a house on the hill. Some people, maintaining their housing is typically a goal. We want to essentially prevent you from going into the YWCA. It's formerly the diversion program, to divert you from the Y. And through entering our prevention program, success would mean you did not enter the YWCA as a consequence of whatever's going on in your life. So a major question would be, what is the eligibility requirements? In order to enter the prevention program, you need to be eligible to enter the YWCA, and this is the part I will read. Number one, there's 3 points. Number one, a family must either identify as currently homeless or at imminent risk of houselessness as defined by facing eviction, lease termination, or otherwise losing their current place of living within 7 to 10 days. So we're talking an emergency situation that is most likely quite chaotic and ridden with high emotions. Number two, a family must meet additional eligibility requirements similar to those at the Family Housing Center. Specifically, A, the family must include at least one dependent, anyone 17 years old and younger. B, have custody of that person, that dependent, at least 50% of the time. And 3, they must be a resident of Missoula County for 60 days. So it can get a little rocky there if someone's coming from Billings and trying to be proactive. For that, we have other programs, but this program is specifically for that population. And to wrap it up, number 3, the Family Houselessness Prevention Program will be capped at 5 families. I'm but one person, and we want to make sure that you do get that intensive case management. You do get the care, you do get my attention, advocacy, and true diligence. In short, you're served and loved well throughout this program. So we're capped at 5 families, and the requirement is that we meet in person once a week. I like to lay eyes on you, if for nothing else, just to gauge your stress level. It's one thing, LaKeitha, everything's fine, versus I'm seeing, that, maybe, the tensions might be higher than communicated, and that type of thing. Also, again, we are building a relationship. I want you to come to our community meal, and I want to see your children. I want to delight in your child with you. Read them a story. That's happened at one point recently. Myself and the little girl, we picked out a bag of cookies for the police department. So just building bridges throughout the community as it is. And so how does the program work? The point of entry is through the YWCA walk-in center. you cannot pick up the phone and say, LaKeitha, I have a family. You'll go in through the walk-in center, and based on the criteria that I just mentioned, the walk-in center will determine eligibility. They will then call me where I'm most likely waiting and saying, hey, LaKeitha, I have a family, XYZ, the rundown. And then I will follow up either way. If I'm already at 5 families, I will still call them, ask them if they want to be put on a wait list. And then just to be gracious, I give them 3 action steps that they can act on immediately, while they're waiting. So I don't want to ever leave anybody hanging just because you're not in the program. And so you have that information. Additional referrals can be made by the YWCA housing staff, but typically it does come through, the walk-in center, just because that's they're who you see when you walk in the door. Families complete an intake with a prevention specialist to identify barriers, goals, and needs, and commit to meeting in person or by phone several times a week. I don't give my phone to the prevention family site. So I'm available by text, email, phone. If you figure out how to train a pigeon, you can also communicate with me via pigeon, if you so choose. My point is that I'm very accessible to you.
What is pigeon?
The pigeon, you train it to carry
The
notes to me.
It's a fantasy. Yeah.
They used to do it. People used to. Yeah. Yeah.
I just thought it was like.
A different app or
A cool app,
something.
yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. I mean, it is legitimate. Do
There could
you
be
want,
an
do
app
you want
called
to take the
Pigeon.
time to do it is the question. And will I respond?
You said you would.
I said I would. I did.
You heard it here.
True enough. And so we have, the families agreed to time limited intensive case management that begins with a housing problem solving communication. Part of that initial conversation before doing the intake is to ensure that you understand this is a commitment. We will be in contact. We're not out here just cutting checks willy-nilly. That's not very helpful in the long run of things. I am interested in short-term solutions for you, especially when our children are concerned, but also we need to be talking about budgeting, soft skills, community resources such as partnership for free healthcare, the food bank for free food, Heart Church for free clothing, this type of thing are long-term solutions. Getting in good with your landlord, being friendly goes a super long way. Paying bills on time, this type of thing is definitely a point of conversation. Number 6, flexible funding is available to complement intensive case management that leads to the maintenance of securing long-term permanent housing. They are accountable to producing receipts and this type of thing prior to reimbursement. So that's taken very seriously. And I think that's a wonderful thing. We want to be practical in our solutions as well. And sometimes it might be paying the first month's rent to get you to where you need to be going. And so I will kind of leave it there for the training part and letting you know the what and the eligibility. And I would just like to wrap it up. I know this probably isn't part of it, but how you yourselves can help, twofold. I would say donations and volunteering. Donations is the money doesn't come out of thin air, right? Just to be blunt about it. Most common expenses are application fees, which if you own your home, why would you know? But they're charging out there $35 to $100 per application fee. If you're a couple, it's not uncommon to charge double. So we're looking at $70 to $200 application fees. Commonplace in our housing market is, you're submitting your application sight unseen. That's pretty common. So you're looking at a website, you say, oh, I guess that looks nice. Here's a check. You show up to view it with 10 other people. I'm thinking of one place in mind right now. You show up with 12 other people.
At the same time.
You all paid your application fees for this unit. And then, one of you is chosen, is selected, and, common barriers, what they're asking, 3 times the rent, so at $1,100 is common for a 1-bedroom unit, that's $3,300, so that's roughly maybe like, $21 per month, or per hour that you're making. Minimum wage is maybe 10 or something like that. 700 credit score, minimum 650 credit score, no felonies, no evictions, no rent owed, the list goes on and on and on. Most people have probably at least one barrier, not to mention your deposit, first, last, and deposit, pet fees, it all adds up. So again, the most common check that's cut is for application fees. Most people don't have $500 to just toss around. Every once in a while, super rare, but we'll do the pay a deposit or a first month or something like that. But again, the goal is to keep you in there. So that's the donation piece. So be generous. The other part is volunteering. The walk-in center does need to be staffed. Beautiful women who are very concerned. Most recently, they advocated for collaboration with the food bank to provide nutritious snacks for all families coming in. You can imagine what situation you might be in coming in there. To be able to have some raisins and some applesauce for your kids that are with blankets, this type of thing as well. The hours are 10 to 2, and most people are like once a week all the way. We have people who come in once a month, so that's Monday through Friday. Please consider giving your time as well. And that's my portion. Are there any questions?
Where's the walk-in? At the Metal Arc?
Yeah, over by the good food store.
Right, I've been there, but I just didn't realize that they called it that.
So how do they know to just walk in that door? How do people
Yeah.
get there?
So the prevention program is not largely announced, only because word spreads very quickly. We just reopened the prevention program again less than 6 months ago, and I was at capacity immediately, and there's never a shortage of work. People will find out. It's a great service. We're one of very few people that have funding for families as well, which again is not announced, but does get out, so.
And does that funding come from the Y or from MIC? Or?
Yeah, a portion of it is from the Y, a portion of it is from grants. It's not.
None of it is from the wall.
Okay, so
Mhm.
grants, private donations, such as you ladies today, if you feel so inclined.
Mhm.
And there is 2 grants and private donations.
And like congregations that have supported.
Mhm,
Mhm.
mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it actually, so we started doing prevention because we got a family promise grant. And so that's how we started the prevention program. And in the whole kind of scheme of like what a healthy housing program looks like is that you do have prevention, so preventing people from actually going into the family housing center, having a really robust like housing support, so family housing center. And then stabilization. So that's why Family Promise is considered stabilization, as another piece, and it really is because if we're to look at having a really good, like, healthy housing supportive program, we'd have to have all of those components,
Mhm.
so.
And just to add an addendum to that, once the family is housed, IC's, contact or communication, like, that's the end, the job, it is finished, the job has been done. The stabilization program is absolutely vital to continue that relationship, continue that success. So whereas right now I might send a text or call, hey, how's it going? Because I'm curious, like, did it work? Because, the stabilization aspect would be to be that person and actually have that relationship follow through with the bank accounts, with homework, with the budgeting, make sure you're really set.
Mhm.
I just don't have the capacity to do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Too much.
yeah.
So do you get the grants or apply for grants or? you
I
just-
do, yeah. I do it with, and we have a grant writer too that helps with that. So I do know some numbers. It's like from last July, I think there was 30 families that were worked with, right? 30 families that were diverted,
Mhm,
and then 5 went into the family housing center.
mhm,
So that's like a very successful, I mean, so like LaKeitha said, it's very intensive.
mhm.
So she can't work with, like, 20 families at once, but the 5 families that she's working with, it has been very successful.
Mhm.
And when we look at the family housing center, I mean, recently it was like bursting at the seams.
Yeah,
And so not
still.
having,
Yeah.
and now,
Mhm.
so not having all of those families that are, that could be prevented from going in there, it's like, I mean, we would, at one point I was staffing the walk-in room when we started doing it with the Housing Advocate Network. And literally I was talking to people and saying, ooh, you're not, like, you're still housed. You're gonna be homeless in 10 days.
Mhm.
You're gonna have to come back then, because you're not technically eligible, right?
Right, you're right.
And so now we're able to meet with those families and say, okay, let's see if we can help you stay there. We don't want you to have to pack up all your stuff and
Yes.
throw away it all, and like,
Right.
yeah.
Right, and there's tremendous support from the community. We love as humans an underdog story, and that's kind of what we're doing, but the beauty of it and the beauty of what you guys are doing as well is that we get to participate in someone's thriving
Mhm.
in real time, and it's the kids. I don't know where you're, it's the kids for me, yeah, and you get to see them running around and doing their thing and being healthy. And it's quite amazing, actually, if I was a prior, I would cry about it.
That's why I can't do that. That's why I can't do that kind of work. I just be so.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
needs to be someone strong.
It is, and yeah, so often I'm the rock, for sure.
Which isn't saying anything bad about you, but it's,
No.
no, it's a good character to have because you help these people.
Yeah.
Like
somebody
nurses,
to-
I mean, like.
Mhm.
So how do you know when to graduate them out?
Their house. That's it,
Their house.
Yeah.
that's it. And they also, receive a welcome basket, so usually, I don't know how much of a part of my job it is, but usually I'll just ensure the welcome basket, the furniture happens. If I can enlist a walk-in person, I probably will, just so it's off my plate, but, I like to see it. We have connections with YBGR that has CSCT and behavioral specialists in, many of the schools, so I do like to see, as I like to call it, soda. I like to see it soda.
What happens if it's just not working? Who will it come and judge that?
Yeah, that does happen. This is client led, so, yeah, sometimes people don't meet, which is why I'm very clear up front before we do the intake, what the expectations are. I will say this, at no point, do I want to feel like I failed somebody. and B, that the program itself, has been compromised. So that conversation will take place before the intake. Things happen, so yeah, I have had people who, sees communication or whatever, there's nothing I can do, and I don't have feelings toward it, because life happens. I don't have judgment toward that. And B, I've had one person in the 6 months go into the Y, and when I tell you, it was like a full on, all the way up, I won't name names, but people high up, in city government were advocating for this person, and we just couldn't make it. We just couldn't make it work. And so for that, I want to make sure that the integrity of the program is not compromised, and I do that. I also want to make sure I'm going to sleep at night, making sure I did my best. So with that said, when it's unsuccessful, it just is. It just is. It's been exhausted, all efforts. No, I have your particular one.
That's
Yeah.
LaKeitha, did you say what your background is?
Yes, I've been a social worker in Missoula for 15 years. I've been in some type of management, for the past 12 years. I have a strong history in group home management. I prefer working with, teenagers with severe emotional disturbances, meaning you want to punch me in the face with no consequences and can, and my job is to get you to not do so and to support a staff that has the tools to react appropriately and to mediate volatile situations. So my heart always and forever has been with the kids. I went into foster care when I was 16. What I didn't know, I had the most amazing experience. I had amazing foster parents, and I had amazing experiences with group homes. What I learned later, years later, was that there was somebody who favored me in my community. I was pretty high up in DCFS, and they were ensuring that I was going to just like the premium group homes. And so this is me returning that favor. No life, no experience is ever wasted, and this is me demonstrating that in my profession.
God bless you.
Yeah. Yeah, but you as well, somebody has helped you along the way, each of you. And so I implore you to think about who's helped you along the way to get you to where you're going, and filter that into Family Promise, or the reason why I'm here, the prevention program. MFP.
Can I ask you, I heard you say at one point that there was a community meal. Is there one that fine for you?
Brain, I'm so glad that you asked. Every month, the first Tuesday, or excuse me, or second
Friday.
Watch that. Lord.
No, I heard.
Starting over, the second Friday of each month at MIC, Missoula Interfaith Collaborative, 2205 34th Street, just outside of Brooks Clearwater Credit Union. 3:30 to 5 p.m. we have a community meal. Ideally, we're not talking shop, so I don't introduce myself as LaKeitha. I'm the yada yada. I'm just LaKeitha, and I'm a part of this MIC community. I want to talk about your dogs. I want to talk about your grandma. I want to share a piece of pie with you, and that's the encouragement. It's actually this Friday, and I would love for you guys to come. If I didn't say it, we attempt to not talk shop. We're really just, if you will, vibing. Yeah, it's a vibe. And there's games. Most recently, somebody brought Scrabble. I'll be at that table. Yeah, actually, the 2023 International Scrabble champion in my home.
Oh, you're all right.
Yeah, pretty incredible. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Is it a pop?
She lives by herself.
Yeah. So, It's formerly a potluck, but what we found was that we have so much food to take home. People were, so what it is if you would like to bring your famous apple pie or your custard, you know, or your honey barbecue wings that you're famous for in your home, please bring it, you know, be a part of this community. Show up and smile. So, any more questions? Okay, I have cards. There's one for you.
Thank you very much. This was
Yeah.
very, very interesting. The reason I asked you about the walking, because when you walk in, there's a family center, I know that. And the other side is the secure, and you just have that one, what room do you meet in to meet these people?
So there,
The one.
there's a one for pathways, and then there's one for the family housing center. So
They're like
typically,
little-
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
typically people go to the front desk and then they tell them which room to go in based on what they say.
Okay,
So-
I see.
So that's what I got.
Thank you.
You have my email, if you have any further questions. I am certainly available. You know, and I'll see you guys on Friday, again, donations and volunteering is a way to contribute.
Thank you, Keitha.
Yeah.
Thank you.